So Lord Popat is a member of the House of Lords of the UK, and I saw a lot of statements and a lot of political solidarity around Ukraine. And there were protests across London. Thousands yesterday. Lord Popat came out, for the Ukrainian flags, Lithuanian flags everywhere. But at the end of the day, everyone's just watching, including the UK. You promised to help, the British promised to help, you gave some military assistance to the Ukrainians, but when push came to shove, you're doing nothing. What are the consequences of doing nothing, Lord Popat, for the West, for NATO, for Britain?
Well, this is a war between Russia and Ukraine, and it does not necessarily point to any larger conflict in the making. And what we have done, both President Biden and Prime Minister Boris Johnson have affirmed severe sanctions that will be put in effect to Russia, but there's no intention to deploy either British or US troops to Ukraine's aid at this moment. However, the stance can potentially change should the conflict spill over beyond Ukraine into any of our NATO members. And as you know, the ex-Prime Minister Hans mentioned earlier, that NATO is a great tool. It gives it protection and security to many members within both Eastern Europe and Europe. And Ukraine, I'm afraid, is not a member of NATO. But there is tremendous support for Ukraine by the British people. They're marching. Lord
Popat, I have great. Lord Popat, I disagree with you to the limited extent that everyone I'm speaking to from the anti-Russian bloc seems to be saying essentially to us, we're sorry for Ukraine. Our hearts are with the people of Ukraine, everyone. But this is not our problem. And I think that's a very convenient posture, isn't it? To say so, General Bakshi, that it's not our problem. General Bakshi.
Arnab, let me make three quick points. You know, my heart bleeds for the Ukrainians, because the NATO and the United States seem set to fight Russia to the last Ukrainian. You know, the standard, I'm not into any morality play, I'm talking as a military analyst. The standard, Russian way of taking cities in recent times is what we saw in Chechnya. They would surround the city, use 30, 40, 50 batteries of Grads and multi-barrel rocket launchers to pound it from the air with their Su-25 Frogfoots, cruise missiles, what have you. The tanks would dash for the city center and then radiate outwards. So every country has its own way of war fighting. The Russian way of war fighting is characterized by heavy usage of firepower, almost shock and awe, multiplied many times over. What one saw in this campaign was a curious absence of firepower on the Russian scale. What we just saw was very precise strikes on some military installations. Quite obviously, they haven't worked. Yesterday, we were anticipating that they had landed an air assault brigade at the Antonov airport, 23 kilometers away from Kyiv. And then in traditional military playbooks, there is a link-up, a land link-up. That land link-up was coming with the 41st Army hitting out of Belarus. But yesterday, that army was stopped by Putin because apparently he wants to win the information war, or he wanted to show that he was doing it without much collateral damage. Now, in fighting in built-up area is very heavy in troops. And if you want to do that, you have to use heavy suppressed